The Galactic Federation, hundreds of thousands of years old, was founded on the principles of order, logic, and meticulous classification. Every species, every civilization that fell within its sights, underwent a rigorous evaluation process. Their technological level, aggressiveness, social structure, psychic stability, everything was carefully recorded in the registry. And so, after decades of cautious observation, the time came for the verdict on a new civilization from a blue planet in the spiral arm of Orion. The Terrans, or humans, as they called themselves. The report presented to the High Classification Committee was a monolithic volume, gathering data from thousands of probes, spy satellites, and even several covert reconnaissance missions. Expectations were high. Every new species could be a potential ally, a threat, or simply another interesting footnote in the cosmic catalogue. The meeting was chaired by High Classifier Xar, a being with 4 eyes and skin resembling a starry night. His voice, modulated according to the importance of his words, echoed through the hall filled with representatives of all the Federation's races. Moving to item 743 beta, classification of the species, human, from sector Gamma, 7. The report will be delivered by classifier Ilara. Ilara, a delicate being with crystalline skin, projected a holographic display. Images of Earth appeared, its blue oceans, green continents, and the shimmering lights of its cities. Honorable members of the committee, Ilara began, her voice soft but clear. Our analysis of the species, human, is complete. Their technology, while rapidly developing, is currently limited to their solar system. They have reached the atomic age, but interstellar travel remains science fiction to them. Diagrams of humanity's technological progress appeared on the screen, showing exponential growth. Some in the hall began to feel nervous. Rapid development was often a precursor to aggression. Social structure, Ilara continued, is very diverse. They are organized into numerous nations, each with its own government, culture, and, notably, a history of conflict. 2 world wars using primitive but deadly weapons were recorded. A whisper rippled through the hall. Aggressiveness was one of the most dangerous traits. However, Ilara raised a hand to calm the audience. These conflicts, while horrific in scale for their planet, were limited and appear to be a result of the species' immaturity. Analysis of their psychological profiles shows a deeply rooted empathy and a drive for cooperation that often dominates aggressive impulses. Images of humans helping one another, building shelters after natural disasters, and sharing resources appeared on the screen. Pictures of doctors saving lives and scientists working together to solve global problems. Their reproductive strategies, Ilara continued, are complex. They have an exceptional ability to adapt to different environments. But the key aspect is their size. A comparative chart appeared. Average human height was smaller than most Federation species. Their physical strength was negligible. Humans are physically weak, Ilara emphasized. Their bones break easily, their skin is easily damaged. They are vulnerable to a wide range of diseases. Their speed and reflexes are significantly inferior even to the least developed species of the Federation. An example appeared, a human running alongside a cheetah-like creature from the planet Tar. The human was hopelessly slow. Also, Ilara added, their planet has relatively low gravity. This means their muscles and bones are not adapted to high-gravity environments. Being in conditions of higher gravity would cause significant discomfort and even damage to their organisms. So, Xar intervened, what are your conclusions regarding the potential threat? Ilara allowed a second of silence. Our simulations show that humans, despite their aggressive history, pose no real threat to the Galactic Federation. Their physical weakness, vulnerability to diseases, and limited technology make them incapable of large-scale interstellar aggression. A summary appeared on the screen: physical weakness, high. Environmental vulnerability, high. Aggressiveness, situational, intraspecies. Threat to the Federation, negligible. Furthermore, Illyra continued, their psychology is characterized by a curious phenomenon. They are capable of immense love, altruism, and art. Their artworks, music, and literature are a marvelous reflection of their inner world. They strive for knowledge, exploration, and understanding of the universe. They also possess an unusual capacity for imitation and adaptation, she added. They learn quickly and can integrate new ideas with surprising speed. So, a voice rang out from a far corner of the hall, you propose to classify them as harmless? Illyra nodded. Exactly. Their vulnerability and limited capabilities make them harmless to other species of the Federation. We recommend establishing their status as classified as harmless. Limited contact for the purpose of cultural exchange is permitted, but without interference in their development. The committee voted. The decision was unanimous. Humans were officially classified as harmless. Several centuries passed. The Galactic Federation continued its slow but steady expansion. Humans, meanwhile, remained on Earth, slowly but surely perfecting their technologies. They reached beyond their solar system, colonized Mars, and built stations in orbit around Jupiter. Their ships, while not as fast as the Federation's, were surprisingly efficient. The first official contact took place under the Harmless Protocol. A small Federation research vessel named Beam of Hope landed on Earth at a specially designated site. The crew, consisting of diplomats and scientists, was prepared to meet a civilization they considered interesting but powerless. Captain Zila, a four-armed being with emerald-colored skin, took the first step onto the ground. She was accompanied by classifier Illyra, who, despite the passing centuries, still looked young. They were met by representatives of the United Earth Council, an international organization that now governed humanity. Zila was surprised. Humans were smaller than she expected, but their gaze was full of curiosity and a strange, unusual energy. The first years of contact were, as expected, focused on the exchange of knowledge and culture. The Federation shared advanced technologies, and humans eagerly absorbed them, adapting them to their needs. The Federation provided access to its educational databases, and humans greedily studied the history and culture of thousands of species. But soon, strange things began to happen. One day, during a demonstration of a new Federation anti-gravity engine, a human engineer named Caleb remarked, "What if we tried reversing the polarity of the magnetic field? It might increase efficiency by 7.3%. The Federation engineers were confused. They had used this design for millennia. The polarization was optimal. But Caleb insisted. And when they finally tried it, the result was staggering. Efficiency increased by 7.8%. Zila was stunned. How could a harmless species so quickly spot a flaw in technology that had existed for thousands of years? Later, when the Federation faced the problem of a new, extremely resistant virus affecting crystalline life forms, humans offered help. Federation scientists, who had worked on the problem for decades, were ready to give up hope. A human research group, led by a brilliant virologist named Lena, worked on the virus for only a few months. They didn't have the same advanced tools as the Federation, but they had something else, an unorthodox approach. They didn't follow Federation protocols, which were too cumbersome and focused on linear research. Instead, they used chaotic models, tried hundreds of unusual combinations. They even involved artists to help visualize the structure of the virus intuitively. And they found the cure. The effectiveness of the medicine was 99.7%. The Federation was amazed. The Harmless had saved an entire species from extinction. Zila began to reconsider her views on humans. Their physical weakness, which the Federation had classified as a defect, turned out to be their advantage. Because they were physically weak, they had to develop their intelligence and creativity. Because they were vulnerable, they learned cooperation and innovation. On Earth, where gravity was lower than on many Federation planets, humans developed an extraordinary flexibility of mind. They were not limited by the rigid structures that evolved in species living in harsher physical conditions. Their aggressiveness, which had so worried the committee, turned out to be adaptability. They knew how to change strategies quickly and win through unconventional methods. Their conflicts, while brutal, were catalysts for development, for finding new ways to survive. And then came the moment when the Federation faced a real threat. From the depths of space, from the void of intergalactic space, appeared the Conquerors, a race known as the Tar, beings who lived for conquest and destruction. Their fleets were invincible, their technologies unsurpassed. No Federation species had ever been able to stand against them. The first battles were a disaster. The Federation fleet suffered a crushing defeat. The Conquerors approached the core of the Federation, destroying everything in their path. Panic gripped the galaxy. At that moment, humans approached the high command of the Federation. "We can help," said a representative of the Earth Council named Alex. Federation generals looked at him with disbelief. The Harmless? How could these small, weak creatures help against the Conquerors, who had destroyed entire armadas? "We have studied their tactics," Alex explained. "We analyzed their ships. We found weaknesses." The Federation generals were skeptical, but desperation forced them to listen. The humans presented their plans. Their plans were illogical. They proposed indirect attacks, the use of psychological warfare, the creation of illusions. They proposed modifying Federation ships not to increase their power, but for unpredictability. "We cannot defeat them in direct combat," Alex said. "But we can force them to adapt. And they don't know how to adapt as fast as we do." The Federation, weighing the pros and cons, decided to trust the humans. It was their last chance. The humans went to work. They modified Federation ships, reprogrammed their systems, and created new, unexpected types of weapons based on principles of entanglement and disinformation. They created a network of phantom ships that imitated a massive fleet but were empty. The next battle took place on the edge of the Federation, near the Vlar system. The Conquerors advanced with confidence. But this time, they encountered something they didn't expect. Federation ships, guided by human tactics, moved unpredictably, striking from unexpected angles. They used light illusions to hide their true size. They created interference that disoriented enemy systems. The human pilots, who were integrated into the crews, showed an extraordinary ability to improvise in battle. They didn't follow rigid protocols, they made split-second decisions that stunned the enemy. The Tar, who were used to linear warfare and predictable enemies, were confused. Their systems couldn't process such a high volume of unexpected changes. Their strategy began to crumble. When the humans' phantom ships appeared on the flank, the Conquerors thought they were being outflanked by a massive army. They began to retreat to regroup. It was the first retreat of the Conquerors in the history of the Federation. And then, humans delivered the decisive blow. Using modified Federation engines, they created jumps in spacetime that were impossible for the Federation, but which humans, through their out-of-the-box thinking, had mastered. They appeared directly in the rear of the enemy fleet, delivering a devastating blow to their flagship vessels. The battle lasted for hours. But this time, when the smoke cleared, the Federation had won. The Conquerors were broken. Their fleet was destroyed, and their will to fight was shattered. After the victory, Txar, the High Classifier, who had observed the battle from the flagship, stood next to Ilara. "Ilara," he said, his voice full of wonder, "do you remember the report on the humans?" Ilara nodded. "I wrote it myself." "And you classified them as harmless?" "Yes, based on the data available then." Txar looked at the remnants of the enemy fleet drifting in space. Never have I been so glad to be wrong. Ilara smiled. Perhaps we didn't classify their strength, but our inability to understand their true potential. Indeed, the humans, who were classified as harmless, turned out to be the Federation's most dangerous weapon. Their capacity for adaptation, their creativity, their ingenuity, and their unpredictability, all of it made them extraordinarily effective against enemies who followed rigid rules and predictable strategies. After this victory, the Federation's attitude toward humans changed radically. They were no longer harmless. They became valuable allies, partners who brought a fresh breath of innovation and unpredictability to the Galactic Federation. Their story reminded everyone that true strength might be hidden not in physical might or technological superiority, but in the ability to adapt, think outside the box, and find solutions where no one else looked for them. Humans proved that even a harmless species can change the course of galactic history. And from that day on, no species in the Federation ever underestimated the potential of those who were classified as harmless.